Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of the Art of Selling podcast. This is the show where we talk about all the best kept sales secrets. Over the last couple of years, we spent close to R1 million learning from some of the best sales gurus, marketing experts, and business coaches. And now we're just sharing all of that information with you for free so that you don't have to struggle the way we did. And what's the catch? There's no real catch. Just approach the show with an open mind and maybe just practice some of these things in your business. My name is Jandre, I'm the host, and I've got Gilbert Kompakwe, our co-host.
Thanks for having me today.
And also Vickers van Wyk.
Hello.
So in today's episode, we thought it would be a good idea to talk about how to really sell with your value proposition because, you know, having worked with over 300 companies now in the last couple of years, we've realized like a lot of people, a lot of brands either don't have a value proposition or a unique selling point, whatever you really want to call it. Or when they do, they don't really sell with that. They don't really start the sale with it. They don't really incorporate that into their marketing. And your marketing can just be so much more impactful. You can get so much more return on your marketing if you just focus on either creating a value proposition and putting that in front of people, or if you already have one, figuring out unique ways to just put that message in front of people so that they can understand what your business is all about. Now, the first thing is, a value proposition, if you're a business owner, hopefully you have one. But if you don't, you just need to ask yourself the question, what makes your product or service different than anybody else in the industry? And what is the real number one thing that people actually are going to get out of it? What's the value that people are going to get out of your product or service? And in my opinion, and Gilbert and Vickers can chime in at any point, but in my opinion, there's only really three ways to separate yourself from competitors in the market. Is you either have to be completely different, you either have to be better, or you have to be cheaper. Like, I don't think there are many other ways to go around it. I'm sure there are, but those are really the three core things that I think you can consider when you are launching a competitor brand into the market. You have to try and be better, you have to try and be cheaper, or you have to try and be completely different. So another way to look at maybe a value proposition, and I kind of forgot to say this, so I think this is important, is for those of you that don't know, there's a guy called Alex Hormozi. He's blowing up all over. You know, he's been on the scene for the last 2 years, but we've been very fortunate enough to know about him, you know, in his early stages when he was still at Gym Launch. He was in the mentorship program that we were a part of, and it was just awesome learning from him. And before he released his book called $100 million Offers, he basically broke down the value equation. And in his mind, he's got a value equation that's quite simple. And I might be butchering it right now, but it's basically just a quadrant. And so basically you've got 4 segments. And in the top left segment, you've got, you know, the actual benefit of the product. So what actual benefit does your product deliver to the market? Then on the right side of that, you've got the potential timeline that it takes for that benefit to take effect. So if you're selling a fat burner, for example, the benefit is losing weight. But then if you can reduce the time it takes for that person to lose weight, then the product itself will be more impactful and more valuable. But then on the flip side, if you look at quadrant number 3, it's understanding that how much work will I have to put in to achieve the end result. And the less effort the consumer actually has to put in order to get the result, the more valuable the product will also be. And then lastly, what is the actual, you know, sense of belief behind the product or service that can get someone to the end result, which is the actual weight lost. In essence, if we have to conclude the value equation from Hormozi, it's what is the actual benefit of a product? How quickly can the result manifest if you had to start using the product? How much effort do you have to put in order to get that result? And how much do you actually believe that the result's going to happen? If you can, one, have an amazing benefit, have that happen in the shortest time frame, and then ensure that you don't have to do much as a consumer to make that result happen, and you can actually believe that it will happen, then the product's going to be exceptionally valuable. Now, that's not easy to do for every single business out there, obviously. It is possible, but it's very difficult for some, a lot more easier for others. And this is where we have to start unpacking, you know, a B2B space, the local business space, online stores, and because maybe you can touch on, you know, what we've been doing on the local business side of things.
Yeah, so I'm quickly going to just use an example of, let's say you are selling a fitness or a weight loss program. And a great way to look at it is if you take the journey as a whole of you want to sell a weight loss program and you promise to get X results in, let's say, a month, or they lost 10 kilos in a month's time, it's looking a little bit further than just getting them that result and what else is going to take what else is it going to take to actually get them to that result? They're probably going to have to look at their diet. They're probably going to have to look at their exercise routines. There's a lot of things that goes into it, and how you can make your product more valuable is stacking all of those up into a product, and that's a way to also stand out and differentiate yourself.
Well, from what I'm hearing you say, just to articulate this, that it makes sense in my mind, is that you're saying if you were a sports nutrition brand that was in the health and weight loss space, then selling the product in itself is probably not enough. You're going to have to give someone the guidance on how to actually lose that weight faster by eating better, by training better. Maybe you can do more on the deliverable side by maybe giving them a mini weight loss course or an ebook or a specific meal plan that they can download and copy and paste or whatever it may be. So giving them this additional value can make the brand more valuable. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, like it's looking at it as in a holistic view as to what it's actually going to take to reach that result. It's not just going to be this exercise program. It's going to be a lot of other things that's going to go into that.
Yeah. I think we can't stress enough how important a unique selling point or value proposition really is, because we've worked with close to over 300 brands now in the last 5 years. And Gil, most of them have been e-commerce stores. I would say 60% of them, 65% of them have been on online stores. And considering the competitiveness of the online space, maybe just touch on your experience on how difficult it really is to sell a product or a brand to people who has no unique selling proposition. Like, that's one of the most difficult things to do.
Absolutely. Because again, it now comes down to, okay, what's making you different? It is so difficult because it's so much, you make it actually so much easier to compare apples with apples if you don't have a unique selling proposition. It's so much difficult. It's so much easier for me to look at the next brand who maybe is delivering, in terms of delivery, just delivering the product. Maybe they do it the next day delivery and you don't have anything. So I know it might sound like it's a small thing, but that delivery in itself makes them stand out more than you. So it makes it a lot more challenging for a brand to sell its product if there's nothing that makes it unique, if there's nothing that, or even just adds any additional value. And it can be quite challenging. So this is why you got to start really thinking about what are maybe my risk reversals. A risk reversal in itself could be a unique selling point. If you tell me you've got a 30-day money back guarantee, that in itself, where John doesn't have a 30-day money back guarantee, that in itself helps you stand out so that you can actually sell your product because you're reducing the risk for the consumer to do business with you.
Yeah, it's just the transaction now contains a lot less risk for the consumer. It's like almost going into business with someone. When you don't know someone and you want to go into business, then it's realizing that, imagine, Gil, you and I, for example, Vickers, we want to go into business together, and we say, Vickers, you take all the risk. We put the company name in your name. We do the banking in your name. We do all the liabilities in your name. And if this doesn't work out, then you know what? It kind of is what it is. Vic is going to be looking at me going like, what the hell, bro? This doesn't really look like a fair deal. Well, if I had to approach Gil with that deal, he's like, well, I don't know about that, dude. Like, it sounds like we're going to split all the profits evenly, but I have to take all the risk. And nobody's going to want to take that deal. And I think what you're alluding to is that the same with customers. If you have a product in the market, you need to, one way to stand out from a competitor or add a bit more value to your proposition is by removing that risk for them. And that could give you an edge over the competitor. And one thing we need to understand, and I can't express this enough, is that the more competitors you have in your space, the more you have to work at standing out from those competitors as well. And if you don't get it right, your cost of acquisition is just going to continue to rise. Because if you don't have a unique selling point, essentially at the end of the day, you are going to struggle to grab attention. You're going to struggle to convert that attention, and that will obviously lead to a lack of sales. The better you have the better your unique selling point, the more you can stand out in the market. So it means that the cheaper your attention will be that you're actually grabbing, the easier it will be to convert people, which means your conversion rate from consumers seeing the ad to an actual transaction, the higher that percentage will be, which means you'll have a lower cost of acquisition. So if you were a brand that was spending 10,000 Rand or 20,000 Rand a month on your marketing and you didn't have a unique selling point, the amount of customers that you'll drive through your door will be a lot less compared to someone who has an amazing selling point. And we were talking about this one specific individual who had a sports nutrition brand, and as opposed to just being another product in the market, they were specifically catering to diabetics. So their unique selling point was, well, our specific weight loss or sports nutrition brand is specifically catered to diabetics. And therefore, immediately, she's now in that, what you've mentioned, a blue versus red ocean scenario, where in a blue ocean, you find yourself being free from too many competitors. It's easy for you to grab attention. When you're in a red ocean, that's where you are with the shark-infested waters, where competitors are just gnawing at each other's margins, creating this blood red sea. And ideally, the better you can stand out within a blue ocean, the easier it is to attract customers and the easier it is to convert them, which will lower your cost per acquisition, which will increase your return on investment.
Yep.
I have a great local business example of this evolution. I know we work with a couple of solar brands and selling solar systems and backup systems and whatnot, considering our economy and the power shortage. They used to sell this solar system straight up cash deals only, and people used to get loans from the bank. And nowadays they've started to incorporate payment plans and stuff like that themselves, and they started actually to facilitate those. And a recent thing I've seen pop up is they now rent those systems out, and that's a beautiful natural evolution of trying to be different in the marketplace. And I think people are really going for that.
Yeah, if we have to think of another example, the company called Rain. So they're the first company in the internet space to have you over the internet, click a button, get a router delivered to your door that you can plug and play yourself and have work the same day. So I remember in the beginning they had a lot of complaints, I think because the demand outweighed what they could actually provide in terms of service. Yeah. But about a year later, I was like, I don't have a choice. Let me just try and get 5G for the house, because we didn't have fiber. It was just complex, and we didn't know when we were going to get it. So I was just like, I'm just going to try Rain. And I remember ordering it, received it the next day. My wife was like, how do you set that up? Is someone coming? I was like, I'm not sure. It says here that I can just plug it in, but that doesn't make sense. Literally plugged it in, put it on the top of the shelf. And all of a sudden, I went onto the Apple TV and I was like, there's the Rain. There's the Huawei 5G connection. And I clicked on it, put in the password, and it worked. And you can cancel any time as well. So now I can cancel any time and just, they come and collect the device and my life goes on as normal. No long-term contracts, nothing that's going to have me tied down. And I've never had an issue with them. So this is not a commercial for them at all by any means. But that was just a classic way of standing out in a very saturated market. And I have a good understanding that they're working on something else, because I was actually on the plane sitting next to the head of operations, and he spoke about how they're revolutionizing another industry with the same methodology. And I was like, damn, that's going to be interesting. But that's exactly what value proposition is at the end of the day.
It's so unique, yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's funny because we were actually chatting about it, where there's one particular bank that opens up on a Sunday. And they're one of the first, I think, to actually do that. And again, that's just added value, because it's so difficult, to be honest, to go around looking for a bank on a Sunday because it's all closed. It's all closed. But you need that support, or you need those services. And this particular bank actually opened up on a Sunday, and now they're standing out as their unique selling point. Like, we're open on a Sunday. Funny enough, I think a lot of other brands as well, especially here locally, I don't know, that slogan, operational during load shedding became, the added value, because of the fact that, you want to maybe go out, but then you're like, there's load shedding. But no, wait, they're open because they actually have things in place to, be sustainable and to keep operational during load shedding. So again, that's a unique selling point if there are other restaurants out there in that same complex, but they're all shut off because they don't have the capability of actually being online during that time.
Yeah. So as I mentioned earlier, I think there are mainly three ways for you to, if you had to just oversimplify this episode for yourself, there's mainly just three ways that I think you can stand out from competitors. Number one, be different. Number two, be better. And number three, be cheaper. That's just the three easiest ways if you're being very lazy. Then you've got Hormozi's formula of what is the actual benefit that you're providing? What is the time frame that you're providing it in? And can you shorten that? How much effort does someone have to put in after buying your product in order to get that end result? And is that end result something that they can believe or not? And if it is, then you'll have a really valuable product or service. And now it's up to you to go and take that and put it into your marketing and make sure that people see that, make sure people understand that by running your top of funnel, middle funnel, bottom funnel ads, by making sure you put it in your emails. Right? Can you put it in an email signature? Can you upload videos on YouTube and guide people there in some way, shape, or form? Or can you run these ads as videos or whatever it is? So it's really understanding once you've got that, now you need to articulate it and get the message across to people. So Vix, I mean, anything on your end that you think you want to add in terms of, maybe can I ask you this, working with a lot of local businesses, how can for example, laser clinic or beauty clinic, how can they be different?
Yeah. So in my mind, for a local business, you can be different by simply understanding that you make money when it comes to the lifetime value of a customer, and you can attract them by having a front-end offer that's really irresistible for a customer. So a great example of this is we used to work with a laser clinic and or an aesthetic clinic, and they used to have something called a face scanner or a face analysis that they did with every single new person that came in. And we used to run that as an offer a long time ago that generated a lot of really good quality low-cost leads. And eventually, after somebody would do that face scanner, it would give them recommendations on products that they need to use, as well as a diagnosis on what is happening with their skin. And based on that, the clinic would recommend treatments and products and whatnot, and they would make a lot of money and gain a lot more customers that way. And that's a great example of how you could be different and attract more customers from a local business perspective.
Yeah, I suppose to conclude that, it's just coming up with creative offers that other clinics or beauty spas or local businesses are not really thinking about.
And it boils down to being aware of what's happening in your industry, looking at other clinics' ads and what they are doing to attract business. And it all starts with awareness of what's happening in your particular industry, because you can't be different if you don't know what is actually happening.
Yeah. And how can someone be better? Like, I mean, Gil, from your perspective, how can an online store just be better than someone else?
Customer service, post-purchase experiences. I actually think there's so many creative ways that you can get, especially if someone purchases a product. Imagine calling them up and saying, "Hey, John, how is your product that you just received? I hope you're enjoying it." Or sitting down, maybe having a handwritten letter so that you can send that over when they do have a post-purchase. And I think sometimes we tend to overlook the post-purchase experience. And so maybe going the extra mile to do something personalized, a little gift maybe that comes with the product that they've purchased, that you can be so much better at that. But I think customer service, calling them up, not a lot of brands do that, but I can imagine how much of an experience that might be in itself for somebody who purchases something from you, especially when it's not typical for online brands to even do that. I think it's usually just an email with "thank you for your order." So I think that's an extra thing that one can actually do in terms of having a different experience altogether.
Yeah, and would you say maybe from a front end perspective, because that's an experience you only get once you've invested into the brand. But is there something that maybe they can do on the front end that would grab their attention and go, "Hey, I'm happy to give this brand a shot"? And I suppose that's where risk removals can make a massive difference by having a 7-day maybe refund or get money back guarantee or something like that.
Yeah. So on the front end, it would be all the risk things that can help with risk removal. I think it's always trying to think about how can I reduce the friction for my consumer to buy this product. How can I make them feel comfortable? So if they do buy this, I can give them maybe a 60-day money back guarantee, if that's possible. If you know that in your industry it's usually 30 days, perhaps maybe yours could be 60 days. And that would obviously make you stand out a lot more than any other competitor out there.
Yeah, kind of from my side, it's hard to kind of show people that you are better than everybody else when it comes to your marketing. I think you need to really attract somebody's attention and get them integrated into your ecosystem. And once they are there, it's easy to show them by doing different unique things to show that you are different, you are better than ex-competitor. We do a lot of we've done a couple of masterclasses with Ian Furr, the founder of Sorbet, and they have something in Sorbet that's called the chip mug effect. And what they do is they analyze every single step from a person stepping into the salon to actually getting post-treatment. And they kind of like work out what is every single action that happens in between. And they make sure that every single step is perfect and they execute on it perfect. Like the chip mug effects, like when you serve somebody coffee, make sure that the mug is not chipped, something small like that. And having magazines when they sit down, having comfortable seats when they sit and wait for their treatment. When they actually do the treatment, make sure that the person is friendly. Yeah, that's a great way to show that you are different, and just micro-analyzing that entire process.
Yeah, I think when it comes to being better, showcasing that isn't too difficult to do, actually, in my opinion, because all you can do is just focus on all the results that you've been getting for clients. Like we have a decking company who's doing quite well, and what we have them do is just show all the different types of decks that they've built, and really, really cool ones, really, really awesome ones, doing before and after photos. Those are great ways for you to actually showcase that you're just better than a competitor. But at the same time, if you can be better, different, and cheaper, then you hit the nail on the head. But that's not always, nobody always wants to be cheaper, and it's not always necessary to be cheaper. But if you're going to be better, you have to showcase as much as you can, or articulate the value of the product as much as you can. And to conclude with, Hormozi's formula, I think that's a brilliant way to look at it. Is what's the actual benefit that I'm going to get? Can you articulate that? How long is it going to take to get that benefit? And can you ensure that time is shorter than a competitor? And how much effort does the actual consumer have to put in order to get that benefit in that specific time? Because if that's going to be very little, then the product in itself will already be a lot more valuable. And then at the end of the day, how much do the actual end consumer, how much can they believe that result's going to happen by showcasing those results, those case studies, and those reviews? If you can tick all 4 of those boxes and you can make that a part of your marketing strategy, you will most likely grab attention at a much cheaper cost. You'll convert that attention at a much cheaper cost, and that will yield a much higher ROI in terms of your marketing at the end of the day. And that's all I think we wanted to share with you guys today. Anything else, Gil?
Nope, that's it.
Vix?
No, that's it from my side.
Hope that helped. And from our side, we'll see you guys on the next episode. Thanks so much for watching. All the best. Cheers.